Imagine this. One speech, and millions are ready to follow you. One gesture, and the heartbeat of the crowd syncs with yours. Leadership rooted in such influence feels almost like magic. But it's not magic, it's science. The science of controlling emotions, thoughts, and decisions. In this video, we'll uncover the secrets of the greatest leaders who changed the world. What psychological mechanisms did they use? And most importantly, can you learn to do the same? The power of words. How do words become weapons? Words aren't just sounds, they're tools that can inspire or destroy. The greatest leaders knew how to use them to their advantage. Hitler, the speech that ignited an empire. In the early 1930s, Germany was in crisis. A shattered economy, mass unemployment, and a lost sense of national pride. Enter Hitler. He didn't just speak, he created emotions. His secret? Pauses. During his speeches, he paused at the most unexpected moments. The crowd held their breath, desperate to hear what he'd say next. His voice shifted from a quiet whisper to a booming thunder, evoking both fear and awe. But the most crucial part, he didn't talk about himself, he spoke about the crowd, about the nation. He used phrases that made everyone feel part of something bigger. This is not just my struggle, this is our struggle. Martin Luther King, a dream that inspired a generation. 15 minutes. That's how long the speech that changed American history lasted. I have a dream wasn't just words, it was a vision. King didn't explain why racism was wrong, he painted a picture of a world without it. His main technique, repetition. The phrase, "I have a dream," was repeated 8 times, creating a rhythm that etched itself into the minds of listeners. Every time he said it, the crowd felt, "This is our dream too." Lesson from history. Words are tools, but to make them weapons, you need to understand what your audience cares about. Hitler spoke to pride and fear. King spoke to hope. What moves your audience? Emotions as levers of influence. People are not logical machines. We make decisions based on emotions, even when we think we're being rational. The greatest leaders always understood this. Fear as a tool of manipulation. Hitler created enemies, Jews, communists, other nations. They became symbols of a looming threat. Fear is powerful. When people are afraid, they seek protection. And if you're the one offering it, they'll follow you. Hope as a force for unity. Martin Luther King took the opposite approach. His goal wasn't to divide, but to unite. Hope radiated from his words, and it was contagious. His speeches gave people a sense that change was not only necessary, but also possible, even in the darkest of times. Caesar and the bread and circuses strategy. Julius Caesar understood that emotions could be influenced not just by words, but also by actions. Basic human needs, food and entertainment, became his tools. The Roman people, satisfied by free bread and captivated by grand spectacles, forgot their grievances and began associating Caesar with abundance and stability. Lesson from history. If you want to influence someone, first identify what they fear and what they desire. Use those emotions as the foundation for your argument. The psychology of crowds. Why do groups think differently? Speaking to a crowd is not the same as speaking to individuals. People in groups act and think differently. The need to belong. Humans crave belonging. Great leaders created the feeling that everyone in the crowd was not just a spectator, but an essential part of something greater. Hitler used "we," King spoke of "our dream." This inclusive language made people feel united by a shared purpose. The power of crowd pressure. When the entire crowd applauds, you feel compelled to clap too. When everyone supports an idea, it suddenly seems more valid. Leaders leverage this group dynamic to nudge people toward action. feeding off the momentum of collective emotion. Lesson from history. To influence a group, create the impression that your idea is already popular. Show that others support it, and the rest will follow. The illusion of choice. How to make people think it's their decision. True influence isn't about commanding, it's about presenting ideas so subtly that people believe they arrived at them on their own. The two options method. Julius Caesar mastered this technique. Instead of demanding support, he presented two scenarios: back his reforms or face chaos. The choice was obvious, and most chose the former. The small steps strategy. Hitler didn't seize absolute power overnight. He started small, implementing seemingly minor changes that felt reasonable at the time. Each step desensitized resistance, making the next step easier to accept. Lesson from history. If you want to influence someone, don't force them. Instead, give them choices where all paths lead to your desired outcome. The art of tone and rhythm. How a voice becomes a tool of influence. A leader's voice is more than sound. It's an instrument capable of conveying emotion, building trust, and even evoking fear. Hitler's dynamic intonation. His voice could shift from calm to intense in seconds, creating tension and keeping his audience on edge. This unpredictability forced listeners to hang on every word. King's rhythmic delivery. Martin Luther King's speeches felt like songs. Repeated phrases created a hypnotic rhythm that captivated audiences. Even if someone didn't fully understand his words, they could feel their power. Lesson from history. Speak with intention. Pauses, rhythm, and tone aren't just details, they're critical tools to hold attention and convey authority. Conclusion. Using these insights in today's world. The techniques used by history's greatest leaders are still in play today. Politicians, marketers, influencers, they all tap into emotions, group psychology, and the illusion of choice to shape behavior. But now you understand how it works, the question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you use it to influence and lead? Or will you use it to protect yourself from being influenced? Every word, every emotion, every idea carries weight. Stay vigilant, but don't be afraid to learn from the greats, because one day your words might just change the world.